Biggest Loser season just ended. Former Lions QB and the Dolphins QB, Scott Mitchell, joins us on Little Caesars Hot and Ready Hotline. Scott, Zach McCrite here, and thank you for agreeing to do this. And I thought, who cares about all those other pundits talking about the Super Bowl today? I wanted to talk to a guy who just got done with the with the Biggest Loser, and then you get thrown right into a Super Bowl party. I'm imagining, right?
Absolutely.
And how did that go?
Actually, the Biggest Loser was my Super Bowl.
Well, I'm sure it was yours, but do you not do like what the rest of the country does this time and just hoard food into your mouth during a Super Bowl party? And I imagine that had to be tough on you right after the Biggest Loser finale.
It's funny. The Super Bowl and the Super Bowl party was always something I look forward to. This year I was actually traveling home. I literally got to my house halfway through the first quarter, so we had no Super Bowl party, no food.
Oh, that actually was a blessing in disguise, probably.
Absolutely.
So I've got a million questions for you. I don't know whether to start with the game or I guess I'll start with the game. How silly, if at all, did you find the final play call for the Seahawks?
I don't think it's a silly call, actually. I mean, I'm sure they were thinking about it from a game management standpoint, to kind of, hey, let's take a shot at the end zone right here. We still have 2 downs. We still have a timeout. So the reality of that play is that the guy from the Patriots made an unbelievable play. Unbelievable. I mean, it's just there was no hesitation on his part. He hit it absolutely perfect. He just made a great play. I mean, and to make a great play in that situation is incredible. I mean, it's beyond incredible. And you look at New England and how many times they've been bitten by a crazy, unbelievable play in the Super Bowl, and it's just kind of the laws of average are kind of came back to help them this time.
Well, who are you? I'm curious. As a former quarterback, Scott Mitchell with us. Who are you thinking about? Who are your feelings directed toward as that game is ending? Or are you just removed from the game so much now? You're just I enjoyed it. Let's go to bed. I mean, how does that work?
I mean, as a fan of football, you have to just be thrilled with the game. I mean, it's just a great game to watch. I mean, it was back and forth. It was really 2 teams playing at their very best, and that's what you like to see in that game, where they're both so mentally tough. That momentum shifts back and forth, and just 2 heavyweights just kind of going blow to blow, and it really does come down to the last play of the game. And so, from a fan perspective, I mean, gosh, it's right up there with some of the best.
But from a quarterback perspective, are you feeling after that's over with, are you feeling the agony of Russell Wilson, or are you feeling the elation of Tom Brady, or neither?
I kind of feel both. I mean, I can relate to both in that, here I know Russell Wilson thinks he's got a touchdown. I mean, the guy literally made an unbelievable play, and you just have to tip your hat to New England in that situation for making a great play. Everyone in the NFL is good, and they make plays from time to time, and so I can feel oh gosh, he's got to live with that for a year, and that's just a tough way to lose a game, and especially as a quarterback and in that situation. But then you have Tom Brady, who's been on the other side of it, where he's seen he's had to be the recipient of some crazy plays, and the play before when the ball was tipped up in the air and the receiver caught it on the ground, and I'm sure Tom Brady's going, oh my goodness, here we go again. Can't believe I'm gonna lose another Super Bowl to some freaky catch, and so you just kind of feel for him in that situation where he played so great all night against just an amazing defense, and you just kind of pull for him to be able to win that in the last second. And it's so agonizing, just watching him on the sideline where, as you have to just sit there, and it's kind of in somebody else's hands in that situation, and that's hard, and it was, it's just really nice to see him, win that, and after playing so great, and he's such a great player.
Scott, I know that football is a team game, and for someone to say that Brady is a better quarterback than, say a Marino just because of Super Bowl wins, means that you really don't have a pair of functioning eyeballs, because Marino was a great one too. But with that being said, Brady wins his 4th. It puts him in elite company with Montana and Terry Bradshaw. Where do you rank Brady as far as all-time best quarterbacks?
Well, I mean, he's obviously right up there. I mean, there's no question about it. And, right, wrong, or indifferent, we're measured by how many Super Bowls we win. And
you hate that. You hate that, Mitchell. I know you do.
Yeah, I do. I mean,
yeah, you do.
I do and I don't. I mean, being a quarterback, you're a big part of the success of the team getting to the Super Bowl. So you deserve a lot of the credit when you get there. But I watched Dan Marino for 4 years at a very intimate level, and he was just incredible. I mean, he was incredible every day of practice. So his ability as a quarterback and is as good as anybody. And you just have to have so many factors together to win, and one, let alone multiple Super Bowls. I mean, Terry Bradshaw was a recipient of an amazing defense, and that helped. And Joe Montana, their defense was actually not the marquee part of their team, but it was certainly a big catalyst in their success. And it's the organization, it's getting all of the pieces together at the right time, and it's keeping people healthy. And I've played on some really good teams that could have absolutely won and competed to win Super Bowls, but for one reason or another, it all just didn't fall together the right way.
Scott Mitchell with us, former Lions and Dolphins quarterback and contestant on the just completed season of The Biggest Loser on NBC, joins us on Little Caesars Hot and Ready Hotline. All right, about the show. I am an avid watcher. How did you get selected to do the show? I mean, do you go? Do they call you? How's that work?
Crazy deal. I actually was online looking at the weather to go to the spring football game at the University of Utah, which is where I played, and I was going to go play in an alumni flag football game as a quarterback at 360 pounds, which I wasn't really thrilled about. And I just happened to run across this open audition for The Biggest Loser. I filled out an application online because they were looking for former athletes, high school, college, or professional. I'm like, well, I fit all of those. I went to the audition and didn't get out of my car. There's no way I'm going to do this. I'm not going to subject myself to the humiliation and the ridicule, because I know how the haters hate, and they're gonna say things, and I just wasn't up for that, and I just didn't get out of the car, and I left. And about 3 weeks later, I got a phone call from a casting director who had read my online application and wanted to talk to me about the show, and I'm just like eternally grateful that he called, because it literally saved my life. My dad died from being overweight. He had diabetes and died from complications from that about a year ago, and I watched him die this terrible death over the past 6 years, and amputations and all kinds of just terrible things, and I just saw my own self dying, and that's where I was headed. And so I literally had this life-changing, life-saving opportunity. I never felt like I was even on a reality TV show.
Did you? Was it like? I compare the fear. Because you talked about the fear of not, of humility and all of that stuff, and that's why you didn't get out of the car. How about when you went ahead and pulled the trigger and said, "Okay, I'm going to do this"? I mean, can you tell me about? Can you compare the fear of going there and being a part of the show like day one, and compare that to the fear of trying to perform at a high level and make money doing it in the NFL? Is there any comparison?
No, I think the fear is absolute. There's a comparison there. I certainly felt a lot more confident and comfortable in front of 80,000 people and millions on television when I played quarterback. I mean,
that's amazing.
I was way out of my comfort zone in standing at the 50-yard line of the LA Coliseum in a pair of shorts and showing my 366-pound body to America. That was not a thrilling moment for me, but it was that thought of my dad and where he had gotten and where I was headed that, it's like, I don't care what people think, and here's an opportunity to get my life back and overcome something that's a real challenge for me. I mean, as a football player, it's hard to admit that you have flaws, that you have things you struggle with. You know, you come from an environment where you can't show emotion, you can't show fear, you can't show weakness, and to have to eat humble pie, which is fat-free, by the way.
That was the only kind of pie you were eating. That's what I was going to say.
You actually, it's a hard thing to come to, and when you do, it's the one thing that I think people have resonated the most with me, that, you know, I was willing to show vulnerability, and it's really what got me through and got me over this.
I'm sure you get this question from every radio gas bag and every radio interview you've done since The Biggest Loser, but I'm still going to ask it. What's the one thing about the show that people would be surprised to learn?
The one thing that really got me was how passionately committed everyone is at the show and changing people's lives. I think sometimes it comes across as, just this massive whoever can lose the most weight, but there's a lot of people, from the doctors to the nutritionists to the trainers to the the camera people, the producers, everyone, they love to come to work. They love to watch the changes that happen in people's lives. It's like, yeah, they're in the entertainment business, but they literally are changing and saving people's lives. And it's a real reality TV show, probably one of the few on television.
What is your food weakness, Scott?
Food.
Same here.
Really, it's one of the things that was shocking to me was just I was unconsciously aware of how many calories I was consuming in a day. I was having 1,500 calories just in breakfast alone, and my consumption, my daily consumption on the show was 1,800. So I was almost eating my daily consumption of calories in just breakfast, and I just like all kinds of food. I'm not necessarily a sweet person but I just like food, and I like a lot of quantities. My middle name is an all-you-can-eat buffet, and I'm going to eat all you can eat when I go there, and it's almost like a challenge to me. And I just slowly gained weight and struggled with it from the time I retired, but I just really enjoyed all kinds of food.
How many ex-teammates did you hear from when you went through this whole process, and did it surprise you?
That was, for me, one of the coolest parts of this whole thing. They actually had an episode where they brought former NFL stars on the show, and I got to spend some time with Michael Irvin. And we weren't teammates, but we knew each other, and it just meant so much to me that he'd come there and be so real about it. It wasn't like he had this paid appearance. He really genuinely cared and wanted to be there, and that was a really, really special moment for me, because that's what I feared. My contemporaries go, man, look at Mitchell, he just looks terrible, and people just were, really sympathetic. And Michael even said, we all have struggles in life, we all have things we have to deal with, and I just really I appreciate your courage and being so open and candid about dealing with what you're struggling with.
And we appreciate you coming on, Scott. I know we've taken up enough of your time already.
Great. I love it.
Let me throw one more at you. Can you tell me a moment from a health and by the way, full disclosure, I was up in the 400s at one point, and I, like you, and I think it's the big reason why I watch the show now. I got inspired by guys like you, although I did it before your version of the show, to do the same thing, and I'm still working on it, but I'm down, into the 270s now, 260s, 270s, and I'm still on my way down, and I'm just wondering if you, like me, had a moment from a health standpoint where, whether it was you looking in the mirror or you had somebody say something to your face or anything, where you finally realized, you finally looked at it and went, okay, I've hit rock bottom.
Yeah, I actually have two thoughts there. One is when I got on the show, they said I was one of the most unhealthy contestants they'd ever had, which was really shocking to me, in that, here I'm this former athlete, and I'm one of the most unhealthy Biggest Loser contestants ever. It was quite a deal. I had, my triglyceride level was off the charts. I was pre-diabetic. I had hypertension. I had sleep apnea and the worst case they'd ever seen. I stopped breathing 92 times an hour. Reggie White actually died of obstructive sleep apnea. So that was a real humbling moment for me when I found all that out. I mean, they were like, we almost didn't put you on the show because we were concerned about liability. I mean, you were a walking time bomb, and so that was a real moment for me. But then I had another moment that was an emotional one, and I just you're on the show and you have no communication with the outside world, no phone, no cell service, you can't talk to your family, no one. And so you just have to focus on yourself every day. And I would get up early in the morning and I'd hike, and while I would hike, I went through and examined my life on a daily basis. And one morning I just had this moment where I just broke down, and I just sat down on the trail and I just started to literally sob uncontrollably. And I was just feeling all of the disappointment, the hurt, the struggle in my life, and I was just done with it. I just said, I just want to quit this show. I don't want to do this anymore. And this thought came into my mind where it was just like, Scott, if you quit, this will be for the rest of your life. You will live with this for the rest of your life. So I just found a way to get through that day. And the next morning I woke up, and this thought just flooded into my mind as I opened my eyes and woke up for the day, and that was all of the sorrow, all the struggle, all the pain, all the disappointment, all the failure in your life is the source of all of your joy. You can't understand what joy is until you felt all of those things. And then I began to realize that I had a greater capacity for kindness, for perseverance, for joy, for the ability to love and have patience because of all that I've been through. And then it opened up my mind to what joy really is in my life, and how there's so many simple things that are going on around me every day that bring an amazing amount of joy to me. And it all just fell into place, and it just changed everything for me, literally, in that moment.
How nervous were you leaving the show that it would all, fall apart?
Well, really nervous. I left the show at my ideal weight. So I went home not having to lose weight. And that was a real satisfaction for me. So I spent 3 months from the taping of the show to the live finale focusing on my routine and making sure that I could sustain this over time. And so for 3 months, I kept my weight. And so the day after the finale was just another day for me. And that was my goal, leaving the ranch. And it's a lot. It's something that I give a lot of respect and reverence to, and just know that, I have a disease that I have to deal with on a daily basis. And I feel that I've got the right tools and team to do it, but it's a challenge. It's something I have to work hard at every day.
Former Dolphins and Lions QB Scott Mitchell breaking down the Super Bowl and The Biggest Loser with us, and we are grateful that you did, and I'm glad you beat Woody. Only people on the show will know when I'm talking that have watched the show will know what I'm talking about, but I'm glad you beat Woody. Good talking to you, Scott. Thanks for doing this. We're very grateful.
Thank you.
All right, man. Scott Mitchell on the Little Caesars Hot and Ready Hotline.